Hi, this is Chanel. Hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk about I want to talk about what manipulative people depend on. Okay. So again, what do they depend on? In my most recent video, I believe, I talked about the three main characters, as I would call it, that you normally deal with when you're dealing with someone or people who are either an individual or group who is manipulative, okay? And manipulative in a bad way. To manipulate means, the definition of manipulate isn't always, but however, I'm talking about during these videos, I'm discussing manipulative people who want to be in control in an underhanded way. Okay, so what do manipulative people depend on? Okay, so the three characters that I talked about were Macho Martin, Mean Girl Melissa, and Manipulative Mary. Okay, and as I discussed, the first two, so Macho Martin and Mean Girl Melissa, are the male and female version of the same person. Okay, and so these two try to be bullies. Okay, they try to overrun you either verbally or physically, or in many different aspects. They try to be a bully, or that's their goal. Their goal is to be a bully. Okay, Manipulative Mary comes across she's a little less detecting, however she's very underhanded. Okay, so what do they depend on? Number one, so first I want to talk about some things. Okay, the reason I talk about manipulative people so much is because there are you'll end up paying for not paying attention. Okay, you will end up paying for not paying attention or not noticing. Okay, and so I just think that it's very important to know the signs and to know the different tactics, and just to be aware. Okay, and so manipulative behavior is harmful. Okay, the like I've said before, the main goal of a manipulative person is to control. Okay, they want to control in an underhanded way. Okay, they want to control, but another thing that I've also noticed is they have a lack of control. A lot of manipulative people lack control. Okay, I've talked about tools in some of my videos, and I don't remember whether I've deleted a lot of old videos, and I've come back and discussed some of the things that I've deleted, or some of the topics that I discussed on my deleted videos. However, like I said, manipulative people want control. They want to control other people in an underhanded way. However, a lot of them lack self-control. Okay? Control is a tool. Everything is a tool. And when it comes to tools, to the tools that we have, be it knowledge or a skill or physical tools or whatever the case may be, when you have a tool, you need to know how to use the tool. You need to know how to use the tool. You need to know when to use the tool, and you need to have self-control when using that tool. Okay, Manipulative people lack self-control with their tools. Okay. So that's one. Number two, manipulative people, like I said, they're very destructive. Okay, so they're very destructive. Sometimes with their mouth, sometimes in other ways, physically, in other, like I said, there's, pay attention to destruction. Okay, we should all be building one another up, and just surviving together. Okay, however, manipulative people are destructive with their tools, like I just said. Okay, they're very destructive. Another thing that I've noticed is that they are they're driven by reaction or the lack thereof. Okay, both. So they're both driven by reaction and feedback. Okay. Also, there are some who, if they don't get that feedback, they're driven to keep going and to push harder and to do more. Okay. And so manipulative people are very driven by reaction, or again, the lack thereof. There's something that they get from doing what they do. Okay, a manipulative person gains something by the things that they do, or like I said, it's just reactive. Okay, they're gaining something from it. So it could be a feeling. Okay, they could gain a feeling by whatever it is they're doing. It can be monetary. Sometimes it can be monetary gain, or it can be gain of some sort of gift, or gain of some. It's just a lot of different things. Sometimes the reactions that they get. Like I said, they're driven by the interactions or the reactions that they get from doing whatever it is they're doing. Okay, so they feed off of what they do in one way or another, or if not multiple, they feed off of it. Okay. So they depend on that feedback, or they depend on no feedback at all, so they can continue to do whatever it is they're doing. Okay. They depend on controlling whatever it is that they're trying to control. Okay. They also depend on, for the ones who, I'll just say it, a lot of them want you to not advocate for yourself. So if it's you, they depend on you not advocating for yourself. They depend on you not speaking up. They depend on you not saying anything. They depend on you just shutting up and dealing with it. Okay. So again, like I said, they depend on being able to do whatever it is they're doing in peace. They want to be destructive in peace. Okay. A manipulative person wants to be destructive in peace. Okay. A few ways that I have, in a different video, I've talked about people who I have, manipulative people that I've dealt with in different areas, and I've dealt with it with. I'm not going to go over all of that, but at the end of the day, they depend on you not advocating for yourself. If it's children involved, or someone who cannot speak up for themselves, or defend themselves, they depend on you not advocating for them. Okay, so they depend on the target not having an advocate. Okay, they depend on that. I've also seen people try to punish the advocate or punish the person who is trying to be or who is being advocated for. Okay? A manipulative person wants to punish the advocate. Okay? Or again, the target. Okay? But always in an underhanded way. For example, I'm going to give an example. Let's say there's a parent. Okay, let's say, and I've talked about before how I've talked about parenting and co-parenting. Okay, so two people create a child. Both people should be trying to make sure that that child is taken care of. Okay. However, let's say one parent says, I'm not gonna be a parent. I don't want to. I don't want to do my part. Okay. And so they choose, that they're not going to do their part. And then if the other parent tries to, advocate for the child, because one parent is now the only advocate for this child, if that one parent tries to advocate to the absent parent regarding being a parent, okay, and being absent and being more protective and being present, that absent parent, if they are manipulative, will try to punish both the child and the present parent for being an advocate. Okay, well, since you're just trying to be difficult, or you always want to argue. They want you to be silent. Okay, they want to be absent in peace. Okay, they want to evade responsibilities in peace. They want to okay. So, but anyway, like I said, a manipulative person wants they don't want you to act. They depend on not having an advocate. Okay. Or they depend on the other person, whoever that target is, that targeted individual, be it an individual or a group. They just depend on that person not having an advocate. So basically, shut up and deal with it. Okay. Another thing manipulative people depend on is confusion. Okay, if there's a lack of clarity, they're able to do what they want to do, more than likely. Okay, so they depend on confusion. All right. And I've also said this in a different video, I believe. They depend on separation. They depend on division. Okay, if let's say, for instance, so again, with the lack of clarity and division, if the manipulative person or manipulative group, there's always a reason why they do what they do. Okay, and so if they are able to do whatever it is they're doing in peace and without any kind of consequences, and like I said, that and they have allies, because a lot of times they will have allies. Okay, if they have allies, they will often tell their allies not to speak with whoever it is that they are trying to manipulate. And the reason they want that separation is because they only want their words to go into the ear of the person, or ears of the person they are that they want as allies, basically. Okay, so they depend on separation from the person, or they depend on basically their allies being separated from the manipulated or targeted or whatever individual. Okay. I believe I've said this in a different video, but manipulative people depend on the manipulated to lack knowledge, okay, to lack strength, and to lack control. Okay, so it is very important, that this is the reason, I've written a book, and I've also put out quite a few videos about manipulation, and ways that you can spot manipulation. They depend on a lack of knowledge. Okay, they do not want you to be knowledgeable about what it is excuse me, they're doing, and they don't want I think that a lot of times manipulative people, they depend on the manipulated to fold. Okay, to fold or break down, or like I said, just not have strength and knowledge. Okay, and so it's very important that you do have strength and knowledge. Okay, it's also important that you have that you have self-control. Okay, because image is everything when it comes to manipulative people. Okay, and manipulative people try to manipulate and control the way things look or appear. Okay, and if they can get a person or a group of people to say, oh, if they get in someone's ear or a group of people's ear, and they have painted a picture, a false picture, okay, and they keep trying to push it's kind of like the poke the bear and hide your hand type of scenario. Okay, when you're dealing with what I'm speaking about right now, like I said, it's very, it's the poke the bear and hide your hand and look at the reaction. Okay, like I said, manipulative people want to paint a picture. Okay, and the only picture they want you to see is the picture that they have painted, which a lot of times is not the truth. Okay, so again, so manipulative people depend on you shutting up and dealing with it. They depend on the manipulated person to not have an advocate. If you are the one who is being manipulated, they don't want you to manipulate for yourself. They want you to just be quiet. And like I said, they just they depend on whatever it is that's feeding them. If it's Macho Martin wants to feel in control of somebody else. Okay, if it's Mean Girl Melissa feels better about herself when she is mouthing off, or to somebody else. Okay, being a mean girl makes her feel good. Okay, being macho makes Martin feel good. Okay, manipulative Mary, if she wants to control the scenario and be underhanded about the way that she's doing it, that makes her feel however she feels. Okay, yeah, I don't have the mindset of these people. However, I've seen it a lot. I've seen it. Okay, and so, like I said, I just think that it's important that you not be confused. That you do pay attention. That you do have knowledge. Okay. And have control, have tools. Okay, have tools and have control. That's the whole name of the game. All right, control your tools and pay attention to other people. Okay, all right, so I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to write them. Feel free to like. And I also want to say that, or I would like to encourage you to learn. Okay, never, I'm almost 50. Okay, and I love to learn and pay attention. Never, and also I want to say this, never allow any circumstance to turn you into a victim. Instead of having a victim mindset when things happen to you, or when you see things happen to someone, learn from it. Pay attention. If you need to write things down, or, however you need to make note of things that are going on, make note of it. Okay, so pay a lot of attention. Listen to your instincts. Okay, have discernment. Okay, discernment is extremely important. Okay, listen to the little voice. If something says, pay attention to this, don't do this or do that, or whatever the case may be, listen to it. Okay, so be knowledgeable and just pay attention. Okay, and advocate for yourself. You have to speak up for yourself, because like I said, if you're dealing with someone who is manipulative, they depend on you being naive. They depend on you not speaking up for yourself. Okay, because they want to create whatever it is they're trying to create. Okay, underhandedly. All right, so you must pay attention, and you must be knowledgeable. Okay. All right, so I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. Bye.